Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on a second! Soraya cried out as she took in this sudden revelation. You mean to tell me I had a brother this whole time and nobody bothered to tell me until now? Yes, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Tahir replied in a tone filled with shame. I wanted to tell you for so long, but I couldn't. Not without you getting put in danger, or worse, being ashamed of me for having the form of an animal instead of a human. It's not that I'm worried about, Soraya clarified. I'm just shocked by the fact that I had a brother this whole time, and not once did Padar or Madar say anything about this. Why did they never tell me about you? It was probably because they were ashamed of me, Tahir responded in a somber tone, which immediately caught Soraya's attention. Wait, what did he mean by that? What could Padar and Madar be so ashamed of? Soraya thought to herself with concern. From what she could recall, her parents were always supportive of her and loved her with all their hearts. Surely they could have extended that love to Tahir, right? What could Tahir have possibly done to make them ashamed of him? She didn't know the answer, but a part of her didn't want to know since she feared that it would taint the image of her family. Tell me then, Soraya asked. Tell me everything. How did you end up like this? Why have I never seen you up until now? Who or what did this to you? Tahir sighed before deciding to reveal his long, complicated, and overall tragic story. It all started around 15 years ago, Tahir began in a weary tone. Like you, I was about to be coronated as the successor to our parents in Bahar. It was supposed to be a momentous occasion, and a happy one too. Madar and Padar were so proud of me. The whole kingdom was happy for us, and you were there as well. I was? Soraya asked with surprise. Indeed, you were, Tahir replied with a nod. You were only a baby back then, but you had the most wonderful smile, along with having the most adorable laugh I had ever heard. Even if you don't remember it, you and I were quite inseparable. Really? I had no idea, Soraya uttered in surprise, but Tahir chuckling in a rather melancholy tone at her response. Believe me when I say that we were, Tahir confirmed with a nod. I was practically glued to you the moment you were born, and never let you out of my sight no matter what. You were precious to me. Soraya found herself being shocked, but also extremely moved by this revelation. To be honest, she had always wanted a big brother, or any older sibling she could look up to or even play with. At the same time, she never really understood why she yearned for something like that up until now. But after hearing Tahir's sincere words, she realized now that it was because she wanted to be with her brother again. Of course. That explains everything, Soraya began with tears in her eyes. That's why I always felt so alone, because you weren't there with me. But now I finally get to see you again, my long-lost brother. As she said this, she immediately went to hug Tahir, despite how unusual and risky it would have looked to others, though Tahir couldn't hug her back without accidentally injuring her with her claws. He did make sure to nuzzle his beak against her face in an affectionate manner. The monks and nuns who were present for the interaction smiled, with some visibly saying awe in response to the sight. I'm just glad to see you again, Tahir replied with a smile on his face. If I could cry, I would, but being in an animal's body prevents me from doing even the most basic human actions such as tearing up. But still, Soraya continued, how did you end up like this? What happened during the coronation? Tahir paused for a brief moment before a dark scowl crossed his face, which made Soraya both unnerved and worried. When she glanced at the monks and nuns who were present, they too showed signs of unease and worry, as if they knew what he was going to say next. Finally, Tahir revealed what turned him into a griffin, or rather, who did it. Dahak, Tahir growled out, much to Soraya's shock and horror. Dahak did this to me. To us. What? Soraya shouted with horror. Dahak? He's the one who cursed you? But why? How? Dahak was one of our viziers, Tahir continued with a scowl. At the time, we thought he was a trustworthy man who could help us run the kingdom properly, but over time, we noticed he started to behave rather suspiciously. He would dismiss himself from meetings at times, and even our servants revealed that they witnessed him perform mysterious acts during the night that were rather insidious and deranged. It wasn't until the coronation happened did he finally reveal his true colors. When I was about to crown the new king of Bahar, Dahak interrupted the ceremony and began demanding that he wear the crown instead, while revealing that he was no ordinary man, but rather a powerful sorcerer who sought to take over all of Avesta. Because Bahar happened to be close to one of the kingdoms he took over, he sought to claim our kingdom. Obviously, our family refused to do so, even when they knew better than to let some deranged tyrant take over our kingdom, especially after he threatened to destroy us if we refused. Padar ordered our soldiers to kill him, but Dahak, even back then, he was strong and powerful with his magic. He even tried to attack you and Madar out of spite, but I was able to deflect it by using a sword I had on me at the time. Because I trained myself in combat as to better defend our kingdom, I was able to get the upper hand due to Dahak relying more on his dark magic to defend himself. But just when I finally got the chance to strike him down, Dahak was able to curse me. He twisted my body and turned me into the very symbol of our kingdom. A Gryphon of all things. Not only did he manage to kill some of our soldiers, ruin the coronation ceremony, and humiliate me in front of everyone, he was able to make a mockery of our family crest in the process. After that, he managed to escape, but not before vowing to return and get his revenge someday. Guess that would explain why he showed up for my ceremony, Soraya remarked as she realized why he was there. But wait, what about Madar and Padar? How did they help deal with the situation? How did they react to your curse? Tahir could only give a pained expression, which didn't alleviate Soraya's worries at all, though a larger part of him wanted to know about what happened. A smaller part of her worried that she was pushing her brother too far and making him uncomfortable. She was about to tell him that he didn't need to say anything if he didn't want to until Tahir spoke again. They didn't take it well at all, Tahir revealed. When I approached Padar and Madar in hopes that they could help me, what I saw in their eyes were nothing more than disappointment. What? Soraya cried out in shock. That can't be! There's no way they could have reacted like that! Surely they must have felt some concern or even shock over what happened to you! They did, but only because I failed to stop Dahak and got myself turned into a mockery of our family crest. After all the effort I put into becoming the new ruler of Bahar and making my family proud, only to fail in the end. No wonder they grew ashamed of me. But did they actually say that to you? Soraya asked with fear. They didn't need to, Tahir replied in a miserable tone. I could see it in their eyes. Shame, horror, crippling disappointment. The fact that they didn't even tell you about me for 15 years proved just how much of a failure I was to them. I guess they didn't want you to live with the fact that your brother was nothing more than a disappointment. Once Tahir finished his story, his expression was more dour than ever, and it looked like he was going to cry, even if he technically couldn't due to being an animal. Soraya, on the other hand, was stunned and horrified. She had no idea her brother was cursed by the very man who cursed her parents and people, but after hearing all this, she felt nothing but sympathy for her brother and could only hug him again. Oh, Tahir, I'm so sorry, Soraya wept. If I had known about what happened to you years ago, I would have helped you. I would have searched everywhere for you, even to the ends of Avesta. I'm so sorry for replacing you and never knowing about you until now. It's fine, Tahir assured her. You didn't know about it. I wouldn't blame Madar and Padar considering how much of a failure I am to them. You're not a failure! Soraya insisted with anger in her tone. Only in this case, her anger wasn't directed at her brother, but at her parents. Don't ever say that about yourself. You got yourself cursed just for trying to protect me, protecting our kingdom. That wasn't your fault. I'm more mad over how my parents tried to erase your legacy all because of one incident. An incident you had no control over. If anyone is to blame for this whole mess and for making you feel this way, it's Doc. He is ultimately responsible for everything that happened to you. So please, don't blame yourself for your current state. Please. Again, Tahir was astounded by Soraya's compassion and understanding behavior. A larger part of him had feared Soraya's reaction to his curse, but was glad to see that she still viewed him as a brother instead of some abomination who brought shame to his family. The fact that she showed no fear nor shame in hugging him and referring to him as her brother showed just how strong their bond was, even if they were separated for years. It amazed him over how his sister was willing to accept him for who he was, despite his personal failures and the curse affecting his appearance. Overall, he was relieved to see that his sister still saw him as the older brother she wanted. I assure you, once this is all over and we find a way to take down Dahak, I will bring you back to Bahar and give our parents a piece of my mind, Soraya declared. It's bad enough that they hid something like this from me for years, but the fact that they kicked you out over something that wasn't your fault is even worse. I swear, I will never let them get away with treating you like this. Actually, they didn't kick me out, Tahir clarified. Rather, I left of my own accord and flew away from Bahar. I felt that it was best for me to leave the kingdom I had disgraced instead of staying there and being seen as a laughingstock. I just wish I could have said goodbye to you one last time before I left. Even so, that doesn't justify Padar and Madar treating you like a failure, Soraya exclaimed. You deserve better than that, and I'm still going to give them a piece of my mind by the time this is over. But anyways, where did you go after all that? I flew around parts of Avesta, mostly in the wild areas where I wouldn't be seen by humans as to not scare them, Tahir explained. But because I wasn't able to hone my Gryphon-like form well at the time, I ended up living with a pride of wild Gryphons who were surprisingly welcoming and allowed me to stay with them despite knowing that I wasn't really a Gryphon myself. They actually taught me how to use my abilities, which allowed me to hunt for food while also taking down any other threats to the forest, though it took me a while to get used to eating raw meat. Gross. Yeah, it was pretty gross at the time. Don't worry, I was still able to eat fruits and vegetables since it turns out Gryphons are capable of being herbivores if the situation calls for it, even if I did get some weird looks by the other Gryphons for eating more greens than meat. That sounds like something they would do. Yes, indeed. After I was able to get comfortable with my new form, I decided to leave the pride and find Dahak. It pained me to leave my new family, even if they weren't human, but it had to be done since I knew that I could never be truly like them. Plus, I had a duty to fulfill, which involved me finding Dahak and stopping his reign of terror once and for all, so of course I couldn't stay with my foster family for long. As I continued to fly around the skies and mountains for days, if not months, I ended up here in the Sky Monk Sanctuary, where the monks and nuns of this place allow me to stay. Sky monks? Is that what you all are? Soraya asked as she turned to the audience around them. Some nodded in response, with one particular nun speaking up after remaining silent the entire time. Yes, we are, she confirmed in a meek tone. We took your brother in 5 years ago when he first arrived, and with permission from the gurus, he has been living comfortably ever since. Really? Thank you for doing so, Soraya replied, while bowing in gratitude. Still, to think you were here this whole time, and nobody back in Bahar knew about it. I never even heard of you guys up until now. Not many do, since we tend to live isolated lives from the rest of Avesta. A raspy yet masculine voice replied, causing everyone to turn to the source of the voice, including Soraya. All the sky monks and nuns immediately bowed their heads in reverence, with Tahir doing the same, and Soraya quickly following us to not look rude. Coming out of the temple entrance was a bald man with pale skin and wearing orange robes like the rest of the monks and nuns, only his were slightly darker in tone. He was significantly older looking due to his white beard that was slightly longer and covered his chin, with his bald head being somewhat wrinkled. Following after him were a middle-aged woman who had a large shaved forehead with flowing black hair, and a middle-aged man who was also bald but had a short black beard. If Soraya could guess, they were the gurus that the female sky nun mentioned just now. Guru Nakul, Guru Mahid, Guru Ishana, Tahir said in a reverent tone. I brought my sister to this place, the one that I told you about. Dahak has struck again and made good on his word to attack my kingdom. So the signs were true, Guru Nakul replied as he stroked his white beard. This is troubling indeed. Come, we do not have much time. I shall explain everything while we are inside. Everyone, please follow us inside the temple. A meeting is in order. The other sky monks and nuns nodded in agreement before following after the gurus, with Soraya and Tahir accompanying them. Just stay with me, Tahir whispered to Soraya. I don't want to get separated from you again. Right, Soraya agreed as she walked alongside her brother, placing her hand on his back. I just hope whatever happens to us will be good for once, the princess thought to herself as she and her brother walked further inside the temple.